This is John Walton, and you're listening to the Power Play Point podcast with the Blue Liner on points and Anna Knox. Here's Wilson, and on the right circle, he scores!
Rebound loose, wild scramble in front, score! Ovechkin with a buzzer beater! It'll count!
And the hat trick tonight, number 21,
Hello and welcome once again to the Power Play Point podcast. This is your host, the Blue Liner on Point, talking to you, live, both live to tape and live on the internet as of 9:14 p.m. this January the 30th, 2023. And as we discussed last week, we are doing a simulcast version. We're actually airing through, by way of, that is, the Sports on the Hill podcast. And Robbie Gross has graciously consented to basically carry us for the week. A lot of bit of life, a lot of problems, as you could say, carrying the show regularly. So we're doing it this way just to kind of make things a little easier on everybody. Anna, unfortunately, could not join us due to some issues at her residence. So we're going to broadcast this way. Thanks again, Robbie, for that. And of course, Robbie is going to serve as co-host. If you happen to be on the internet live, listening and watching us, this is actually an episode of the Sports on the Hill podcast live through both the True Radio Network and Facebook Live, and of course Robbie's Twitch's channel, and we'll talk about Twitch later on. Before we begin, though, Robbie, I understand you had a trip out to Texas to see family. So did you happen to? I know you missed the last game. Did you happen to catch the two before it?
Yes, I did. I caught both of those games. I was happy that the first game was in Colorado, so it's a little bit of a later start. So I was able to catch that after putting the kids to bed. Of course, the Pittsburgh game, even though I was packing that night for the next game, of course, I had it on and I was watching it. I even had it like in the bedroom while I was packing. And so, that was a great game. I did miss almost all of the Toronto game because I was trying to get two kids under 5 through an airport, and I could only focus on so many things at once. But I did catch parts of it. I have seen the highlights. I am happy that my favorite player was able to score a goal, his first of the season in that one. So, so I've seen parts, if not all of the games. So, yeah.
All right. Fair enough. So Robbie will be helping us out with the analysis of the three games. Now, I had a lot of time to think about it, and I'll be honest, I was very bitterly disappointed after the Toronto game. As we all know, it was a really bad loss. The second one in 4 games where really they just did not put out very little effort, if any. And it's a very bad sign, but I'm going to try and keep with the spirit of what we're about and stay positive. So we're actually going to make our focus game the other loss against Colorado. So we're going to skip that and go right to the win against Pittsburgh. So we're going to cover that now. Okay, so it was a 3-2 win against Pittsburgh, and that went to the dreaded shootout, of course. But it started out fairly well. Caps got a power play several minutes in. Captain scores his 32nd of the year on the power play with a wrister from his usual spot, assisted by Kuznetsov and Orlov. No other goals until the second period, until Heinen gets one. He was that line's been pretty good for the Penguins, so I kind of figured they might be a little active in this game. O'Connor and Brian Dumoulin on the assists on that one to tie the game. Then the third period got a little active. Marcus Johansson, Mojo gave them the lead again, 5:17 into the third. Backstrom and Milano on the assists on that one. And then, unfortunately, Brian Rust ties it up with several minutes remaining. 12:52 was the time of his goal. And you kind of knew his line would be active as well. Brian Russ seems to always give the Caps a hard time whenever they play. So kind of figured that line. Gensel and Crosby on the assist there. Then came the overtime, and the overtime was quite a bit lively. 4 shots each on goal. Several high quality chances on both sides, especially by the Caps. Had a good chance to put it away, but unfortunately did not. And then came the dreaded shootout. Don't like to waste a whole lot of time on that. Although watching Evgeny Kuznetsov do his thing is becoming maddeningly, if that is a word, entertaining. Kind of frustrating and entertaining all at once, if you can put it that way, with the way he approaches the net and his 21 deke salute, or whatever the hell you want to call that. Whatever you want to call it, it works. It put the Caps ahead, and then Nicky puts it away for the winner against DeSmith. So the 2-3 shootout win. You'll take them however you can against the Penguins, but a pretty good game. I thought the Caps looked very good against a team that usually gives them fits. Shot count, as usual, tells a lot of the story. It was 45 for our guys, 37 for the Penguins. So nice job by Kemper to keep things at bay. 22-7 shot advantage in the first. I thought the Caps set a great tone in the first, even though they only got 1 goal. If you can triple up, double up, much less triple up the opposing team in shots, then you are putting out a lot. And I think that set the Penguins back. And as far as getting into the game, I don't think they really ever really recovered. And I think that was the key.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I want to thank Andy for rating. I didn't actually even know he was streaming right now. Someone who I mod for, and he mods for me. I appreciate the rating party of 5, and a bunch of people for coming in there. I don't get very many raids on here very often, so I appreciate that. And with that, brought 2 of our mods with us. We already had Champ in stream. So people who don't know, on the live Power Play Point podcast, but I am doing Twitch speak, I guess. But it's nice for extra friends to join us live, I guess, and watch and ask questions and join us here, as we are actually doing an audio recording for the Power Play Point podcast, as well as the Sports on the Hill podcast. We also have a live Spurs versus Wizards game, as they're trying to break a 22-game losing streak in San Antonio. Right now, the Wizards are up 63-55. It's I appreciate everyone for stopping by and joining us and watching on Facebook Live as well. Again, anyone can ask any questions about whatever they want to talk to. I thought it was a great game. We had that chance on the power play in overtime. I thought we were going to win. It didn't happen, but I was happy to see that sometimes if you don't score on that, momentum goes the other way in those power plays with the 4-on-4 hockey. I was happy to see that they were able to play some 4-on-4 hockey, get it to the shootout. I know the shootout is not your or my favorite thing. It was a very exciting one, and it does make me happy that their 2 all-star players in Crosby and Malkin both did not score in the shootout, while we had Nicholas Backstrom, who is back, and he scored the winner, but also Kuzi with the crazy amount of dekes and moves, which is an amazing thing. I feel like he hasn't missed since he's tried doing that. I don't want to jinx him, but like it's been highly effective. And it's weird that he's probably maybe the best on the team now, when that was like, I never thought anyone could take that crown from TJ Oshie. Like, I just, in my wildest dreams, but at least on this night he was better. So yeah, a really exciting win. I said it last week, if we could beat the Penguins, I could care less about the other 2 games. I kind of feel that way, just because I wanted us to be competitive with the defending champions. I obviously want to beat Toronto, but for me, this is the game of the month. We always circled this game, and you have to, even, it sucks that the Pittsburgh got a point, and they've got a point in a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have this season, and we probably lost games that we probably shouldn't have this season, but I was happy for at least one night we were 1 point ahead of them when we were tied going into it. So for me, that was a great night.
It was a great win. Great that they could get up for that game, which they should, but unfortunately, that's the attitude they ought to be bringing. And now to go to the other end of the spectrum, unfortunately, that's the attitude they should have been bringing to all of the games this week, and they did not. Certainly did not in this next game against Toronto. If you saw the game against Vegas, well, it looked a lot like that. Except for at least in this game, there was something of a good start with Nicholas Backstrom getting his first of the season on the power play and at 17-17. And it looked like from there, because it was kind of a sluggish start for the Caps, at least by my estimation, but it looked like from there it would be an evenly matched game, but not so. Toronto got its own power play a minute into the next period. Michael Bunting scored on that one. I guess this goal was kind of a harbinger of things to come. I thought the PK looked very disorganized. This goal actually went off of Nick Jensen's skate and in. And I'm not going to indulge the I hate the goalies crowd. Goalies can do no right crowd. I'm not going to indulge them, but I would say Kemper's probably, before he got pulled, the last goal was the only one. The one against Nylander was or Engvall actually was the only bad one that he gave up. Morgan Riley got his first, put them up for good, 2-1. Nylander, that's Michael Nylander's son, by the way, in case any old-time Caps were curious. Michael Nylander, of course, the last Cap to wear 92 before Mr. Kuznetsov. William with his 28th goal of the season. And then Pierre Engvall, here's your sign, gets his 10th. And that one was the one, if I'm not mistaken, where Kemper I think he just completely lost sight of the puck and was just leaning the wrong way and just completely missed the shot. And that was the clincher, and that he ended up getting pulled and in favor of Charlie Lindgren. And then they get another one in the third, Zach Aston Reist, with a goal in the third. But I would not put this on Kemper, except for, like I said, the last one he gave up. It was no bones about it, lackluster effort by the Capitals, and it was evident after that first goal that they weren't going to be on par. Toronto was constantly on the attack. They had no answer for them, and it just seemed to me like they were all ready for the All-Star break and the vacation that comes with that. And it's just, I know you didn't get too good of a look at the game, Robbie, but that from the body language and the attitude that they brought, it just looked to me like they were all ready to go for the long vacation that's coming up. And I'm hoping that's just a one-off at this point, because they do still have one game to go.
Yeah, for sure. And this happens also, an emotional letdown after a big win over Pittsburgh. It's not surprising. I also did nothing to help the juju of this game. Usually we go through very regimented things in a bunch of our Caps groups, and I didn't follow any of that. And, so it was just kind of one of these one-off early afternoon or like a little bit earlier game on Sunday. And it just, and Toronto has been good this season, and Caps fans always want to overlook that. The other team gets paid to play too, and Toronto is one of the better teams in that division, and they capitalized on a really good second period, and the Capitals have done that a lot this season on a lot of other teams, and so that's going to happen to you a couple of times as well. It's not a one-off thing. I'm bummed because obviously Nicky getting a big goal, you want to get something more behind that, but I'm hoping that this gets them motivated for the last game of the season. Though before the All-Star break.
Before the break, yeah. I'm hoping so. And the next game they're going to be playing is the entire league's get well card in the Blue Jackets. So hopefully that will bring us something of a better effort and result.
Although didn't they play them? I'm trying to remember. I know that we played the Blue Jackets recently, but I remember them having definitely some scores and things to worry about as well. So even though they've been missing some parts, they're still you can't overlook anybody in the NHL.
No, you can't. And the Blue Jackets have actually been playing better overall. I say better, not good, still not good, but better than they were. So no, it's not going to be an easy out. They should win, but it's probably not going to be not going to be without some effort on their part. So hopefully, they don't bring the same attitude they did in Toronto to this one.
Yeah, I remember now the game I was thinking about. It was a 1-0 victory over them, but it was a very close game. I mean, we scored early on in the first period and then nothing for the rest of that game. So they're able to obviously have some shutdown defenses in some of these games. And so it's, we can't overlook them kind of thing.
Yeah, it certainly not. And my fear is that the offense may be drying up a bit. More on that later on, but they're still capable of winning that game. So, but you're right, they can't overlook it. So let's go back to the first game of the week, which was the 24th last Tuesday against Colorado. I'm making this the focus game of the week, as we do on the Power Play Point podcast, because the Caps had the right attitude and effort level and compete level, and they still lost. And I thought, I said last week that this was a possible win, a very possible win, because Colorado really hasn't been playing all that well. They haven't been playing like defending champions. Now, to that credit, yes, they've had a lot of injuries. I think Gabriel Landeskog has hardly hit the ice this year for one. And Cale Makar's missed some time, so they've got that as an excuse if you want to use one. But even so, they've got something of a decent record. They actually landed in a wild card spot as of now. But either way, this was still a very winnable game, and it was just one of those things where it came down to a kind of a fluky goal in the second period. And they just could not catch up, and they also ran into a hot goalie in Alex Georgiev, who had a great game in this one. So breaking down the scoring, Arturi Lehkonen opens it, 8:57 in the first. Nathan McKinnon, Devon Taves with the assists on that one. Andrew Cogliano makes it 2-0 in the second period, 2:04 in the second. McDermott and O'Connor in the assists on that one. Kind of this was a deflected shot. He just reached out and timed it fairly well. But even with the 2-0 hole, you can see the compete level. Again, shots tell a lot of the story, not the whole story, but a lot of it. They had 24 shots in the first 40 minutes of play, rather. They were keeping up. They're actually ahead of the Avalanche at that point. So they were keeping up fairly well with the effort. So it was a matter of time before they were going to score. And so Connor Sherry gets his 12th about a couple minutes later, 4:48 with a nice tip in. And this is emblematic of the type of play I think the Caps are going to have to resort to, in that he was pretty close to the net, and not unlike Cogliano's goal, got his stick out, timed the tip in very well. They're going to have to start playing this way and crashing the net more often. It's going to have to be, when Ovechkin doesn't do the job, this is the type of attack they're going to have to resort to, because you've got no John Carlson to properly set up the play. You've got no Tom Wilson to create room. So what you're going to have to do is simply just go to the net a lot more often. So I think that might mean, I'm not a coach, but if I were making the suggestions here, maybe more Sonny Milano, maybe more Connor Sherry, maybe those two guys on the power play and on top line minutes even, maybe, because those two guys love to charge the net, because you're going to have to resort to that type of play with all of these injuries they're still dealing with. So anyway, Sherry made it 2-1, and this is the fluky goal. Alex Newhook. I don't know. I can't explain this one. Kemper got kind of caught diving. I don't know. I'm not sure what he was doing, but it was. I'm trying to call up the replay, and of course the app is trying to sell me some. I don't know what it's trying to sell me right now, but waiting for the replay right now. Okay, so Colorado gains the zone. Yeah, Newhook basically walks around the two defensemen, and I tell you, it was not. I usually love these guys, but Orlov and Jensen did not have a very good week this week, and I think unfortunately that led to this loss and some breakdowns in the Toronto game as well. The defense has just been awful this week. Faravari in the Toronto game had a questionable play on a delayed penalty, and that led to one of the first goals in that game. And yeah, Newhook, if you look at the replay, basically runs past Jensen and Orlov like they're pylons, and easily scores on Kemper, who had no chance on this one. Although he made this diving move that I don't know. Sometimes I question his moves. I don't think he's this awful goalie that some Caps fans have made him out to be. But yeah, just another example of our defense not playing up to its potential. So that eventually is the winning goal. And then the captain gets his what at the time was his 31st, 9:44 in the third. So the Caps had a chance. They really ramped up their effort. Shot totals in the third were 15-3 for the Caps. So the compete level was there. The attack was there. They just could not pierce the brick wall that was Alexander Georgiev. He really knuckled down. He had a great game, stopped by my count at least a half a dozen glorious close-in high-danger chances. And that was it. But I like the compete level. I like the effort, and it was against the defending Cup champs who, they're playing for pride. They don't want to. Of course, they want to try to repeat. So, very good effort, I thought. Just one lapse in time that really cost them by the defense. But other than that, pretty good game played by them. So. I'd just like to see more of that, where it's as close to a 60-minute effort as they can get.
Right. I totally agree. It was a good game. I think that the goalie stood on the head early on, and I think if we had gotten a couple more through early, it would have been a different game. And I just think that it got into our heads a bit, and that happens. I mean, he's played against us before, and he's always been very tough as a goalie. It was just an unfortunate bounces. And also that was very classy for them to give the video tributes to two of our players who were on that Stanley Cup champion team. I know it was a big game for him to go back and play there. It was a good effort. It just, I think because they didn't go in early, it made it much tougher late.
Yeah, and that's really what it came down to. They didn't all, when you're playing that good of a team, all you have to do is just let down for a couple of minutes and they've got you. And, but they finished the game very well. And I think as long as they come at it with that kind of an effort, they'll be fine. But obviously when they don't, you see what results. So I'm trying to be optimistic. I say trying, unfortunately, because that Toronto effort really, really bothered me. But I'm highlighting.
This is the real test, though, Gil. Right? We got one game coming up, and we can see which was the true team and which wasn't, and they can prove it right here, going into the break on a high, or they could lay a dud, and we can talk about that one next week. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
Very, very true. So yeah, no, that's and you're right. It puts the Columbus game in a greater perspective. So yeah, pretty good, pretty astute observation there, because if they lose that game to one of the weakest teams in the league, now that doesn't set a very good tone going into a week-long break, especially when you're hoping to get some players back and you've had trouble acclimating said players, since they did come back. And I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic, but yeah, I think you're right, Robbie. That game will tell a lot of what the Caps are made of, and I think the key again is going to be an attack based on putting at least one or two forwards in front of the net and making sure the defensemen are constantly mobile. And I think if anything less than a full tilt 60-minute effort will be very disappointing in that game. As long as they don't approach it like they don't already have it won, they should be fine.
Yeah, I want to give a couple of quick little scoring updates. We are doing a live Sports on the Hill podcast as well. Some great basketball being played by the Washington Wizards. They're now up 86-74 here in the third quarter. They went on a nice little run there. I was happy to see that. Unfortunately, Porzingis, one of our main players, did pick up his fourth foul in an interchange there, but they've actually played really well since he went out, which I was really happy to see because I was a little bit nervous about that. I want to thank people for giving the gift subs in chat. So thank you to Ant Dog for the gift sub, to Kalaska. So I appreciate all the support over on Twitch and for everybody tuning in on Twitch and on Facebook Live. Again, you can ask us any questions you want. I think we've kind of gone into all the games. The only things I really want to talk about left is, what are your thoughts on the All-Star break, on the All-Star game? Do you watch it? Do you enjoy it? What are your and there's been an All-Star that was traded today, not a capital, but that obviously is creating a bit of a kerfuffle with, who's on what team now and how many players that they have, since they already had less players this year than I believe in previous years. But what are your thoughts on? We can talk a little bit more about the CBJ game if you want to, but obviously I want to get your thoughts on the All-Star as well.
Well, unfortunately, they've tried. The league has tried tweaking the format every which way you can think of, and unfortunately, they've really failed to make it keep any sort of interest as far as the actual game. I definitely enjoy the skills competition the day before. I definitely enjoy watching that. Lately, the last several years, they've built in a theme based on the location. So the year they had, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, they had it in Vegas. They had a couple of events that were Vegas themed. The one year for accuracy shooting, all the contestants were shooting at giant playing cards that if they broke, they got points for matching. So if it was a jack, they got 10 points, or however it was. So it'll be interesting. I think it's in Sunrise, Florida this season. So it's going to be interesting what kind of themed events they have. But yeah, the skills competition definitely I do catch. The game, I'll admit the 3-on-3, the way it is, it's worth watching, and somewhat. At least they don't drag out the game too much. It's 2 20-minute halves or 15-minute halves or something like that. And they don't drag out the playing, so it's less chance the players can get injured, which nobody wants to see. But yeah, I got to admit, I'm more in tune to the skills competition than I am to the actual game. I don't know what they can do to make the game more interesting. I noticed that the Pro Bowl this year in the NFL is actually a flag football game. So I don't know, maybe in future years, maybe the league can do a roller hockey or a street hockey game. That's mostly what I played when I was younger, on the streets. So, that might maybe something to take your cue from and try to make the game a little more interesting that way. But yeah, it's definitely the skills competition for me, as far as that whole weekend goes. Now the break, usually presents a problem for the team because the Caps don't seem to handle long layoffs very well. And so I'm kind of expecting a swoon right off the bat. When they come back on the 11th, they face the league-leading Boston Bruins, who have been in a bit of a tailspin on their own. So that's actually going to be very interesting. And then the very next day, they come back to Cap One, and it's a matinee against the San Jose Sharks.
I'll be able to actually do live broadcasts from that game. So I'm going to that game and I'll be sitting on the glass, which I'm really excited about. I'm going with my dad and my son. It'll be my son's very first hockey game.
Awesome.
He just opened up a really cute package that had his jersey that's a little big on him because it's size 4 to 7 because he's now 4. He doesn't fit in his infant jersey anymore. And so it's it'll be really fun to take him to the game. I'm trying to consider. At first, I didn't think about how loud it is by the glass, so hopefully it doesn't scare him too much. I'm going to give him ear protection, but it is quite intense when you see it live. He's watched it on TV a lot with me, but it's a different experience, obviously, to watch a game, right up against the glass like that. I've had terrible luck. I've lost every game I've ever sat by the glass. I also lost my first game with my dad, which he's the one who's taking us. So, and we're playing the night or the afternoon before against the best team in the league, maybe arguably one of the best teams before the All-Star break in history, and with how many points they've been able to rack up. But still, I'm very excited, obviously, to go to that Sharks game. And we, on the episode 299 of Sports on the Hill podcast, we will recap that. And then next week, we'll actually preview those two games a little bit more and recap the All-Star competition. I do want to give a quick little shout out to the All-Star game. It's going to be Friday, February 3rd for the skills competition that Gil was talking about. That's at 7 p.m. Over on ESPN. They've got a bunch of old events and new events that they're doing, which is going to be kind of fun. There's going to be a thing called a splash shot. It'll take place on the beach. And there's going to be a pitch and puck, which is kind of like a golf thing. They're going to have the Tandy Tendum, which is when the goalies work together to try to stop people. Fastest skater, hardest shot, breakaway challenge, accuracy shooting, all happening on Friday. So that should be a really fun day, or night rather. And then the All-Star game itself, if you do care about that, is Saturday, February 4th at 3 p.m. on ABC. It's funny because ESPN, I guess, has all of the All-Star stuff because on Sunday they've got the Pro Bowl, I believe, as well. So it should be an interesting week for if you like those sorts of things, for sure. And then we'll obviously break down the Columbus game next week, as well as previewing the two games that will be happening after that break. But it's been a fun show. But Gil, any final thoughts before we end our hockey segment?
Well, so what we've been doing on the podcast since around Thanksgiving-ish or so, or several weeks before the beginning of the new year, we've been putting a spotlight on local businesses, given that the economy isn't exactly all that great, just to kind of put the word out. So this time around, given the fact that we're on we're being carried by Sports on the Hill, which is carried on several Twitch channels. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about Twitch and maybe how that can be used as something of a side hustle, because I understand that you can try to make a little bit of money, get your not only that and get your reputation out there. So if you could, you've got a lot of experience about that, and so I just want to kind of get our listeners tuned into that and see, give Twitch a try and go over the benefits of that and how to use it maybe to your advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I actually have been on Twitch for quite some time. I have been on many different been in many different aspects of Twitch. So I am both a viewer of Twitch. I watch a lot of other channels, music channels, video game channels. There are what's called just chatting, where it's just conversations between the streamer and the chat. But then also podcasts like we're doing right now. I moderate a bunch of podcasts that I think are wonderful on Twitch. Like Davey is Eating a Sandwich is on right now. He's great. I was on We Speak English Goods channel earlier. He does a podcast and it's wonderful. We also have Champ, who's going to be on in just a second. He does the No Spots podcast here on Twitch as well. And so one of the nice things about Twitch and Facebook and YouTube are trying to catch up on this as well is that you can monetize it. So now Twitch allows us to finally have stars on our podcast where people could donate on Facebook Live. But I will tell you, it's taken them years to enable that feature. It was only for gamers for a very, 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 very long time on Facebook. And it's only been within the last couple of months that they've even given us the option to do that. And I will mention that 0 people have sent any money through Twitch or through Facebook, which is fine. But I'm just happy that that is even a revenue stream that's possible. But Twitch has always been welcoming to people of lots of different streaming backgrounds. You can stream during all sorts of different content. A couple of different things of content that I've streamed in the past are art. I've also streamed making different emojis, and which are basically what we call them emotes on Twitch, but people on your end probably would know them as an emoji. But you design it and it's custom to a channel, and the emote could then be used by anybody that subscribes to that channel. And then one of the ways that you can make money is through subscriptions. So tonight, for example, we had Primordial Sounds, one of my mods, resubscribed to my channel. So I gave $5, get the ability to use my Twitch emotes throughout all of the different channels on Twitch. And people are like, oh, that's a really cool Charizard or Kirby or Fireball or whatever you want it to be. Oh, maybe I should go subscribe or check out that channel. So it's a way to kind of draw attention in other channels, also show that you like something or enjoy something as well. Most of mine are video game based or sports based because those are the things that I love. And one of the things that I do as a side hustle is I also do emote design on stream for other streamers. So they come on and they tell me what they want. We have a conversation while I'm making it live on stream. But people could stream whatever they're interested in. We're doing a podcast right now because we like talking sports, but you could do art, you could do music, you could do video games. People just honestly have streamed almost anything that's possible. I've seen people sleep on here. So like there's one person on right now, which I am amazed by. They have been on for over 430 days in a row, nonstop, never turning it off. And basically what they're doing is what's called an uncapped subathon, which people do sometimes to make money, is people donate bits or subscriptions. Bits are like pennies. So they donate 1,000 bits, which is like $10 in subscriptions, and it adds to a timer. And as long as that timer doesn't run out, they don't stop streaming. And this person has had constant people donating to them for over a year, and they're going for 2 years on this platform. So that's one way you can make money. But there's all sorts. There's ad revenue sharing and things like that. There's minimum requirements you have to be an affiliate streamer to get paid for it. You have to have 50 followers, and you have to have a certain number of people watching for a certain amount of time, and some other things as well. But it's I struggled at first to become a Twitch affiliate, and then I thought that I would just do it on Facebook and YouTube, or I would just simul stream, but then I kind of came back to it, and I've really enjoyed it, and it's given me a cool opportunity to gain a little bit of revenue to help kind of pay some of the bills that, as you know, it costs to have streaming and to put all this out there across so many different podcast platforms.
Oh, all sounds great. So it really, I mean, it sounds like you're only limited by your passion and your imagination. If you've got digital content that you want to put out there, Twitch just seems like, well, the present and the future as far as a great way to distribute that.
Yeah, and Carly is saying 430 hours. No, it's 430 days, I believe it was. So it's much more than hours. They watch her while she sleeps, while she's awake. She switches to her cell phone while she goes to her chores. She then switches back to her computer. It's pretty crazy. Emily CC is her username on Twitch. She currently has 200 people watching her right now, and she's been live 450 days, and she's got 191 hours left on the clock, but people will keep on adding to that. So pretty crazy for sure. But it's basically, if you can stream something and you can find people that enjoy what you're doing and want to subscribe to you and and donate for your time, then I say go for it. But you could pretty much put whatever content out there. There's even platforms that you could live stream. I was checking into this, that if you wanted to pre-create content, movies and videos or whatever, and then stream that, you can do that and then be in chat. And so there are opportunities as well if you don't want to be live on camera. It's a really cool thing. This year on Cinco de Mayo will be 2 years affiliate for me. So that I've been making money here over at Twitch.
Awesome. So if someone wanted to subscribe to your Twitch channel, how exactly would they go about doing that? What would be the contact method?
Yeah, so to subscribe to the channel, you just go to the channel, which is twitch.tv/RobbieG_SportsOTHP, which is my username. I know it's long, but it is just Robbie G and my podcast, Sports OTHP, because I do both stuff. And then they go over there, they just click the subscribe button, and then it's done through Amazon. So if you've got Amazon set up, which most people do, you can do that. And in fact, if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription every single month that you can give to somebody, so you could use that over here if you wanted to. But and then the regular subscriptions, you pay $5, and it's just an automatic reoccurring charge of $5 every month unless you choose to stop it. It's a fun thing. It charges a little bit less if you do like 3 months or 6 months or bulk, subscription, that way as well. Some people do that to save a little bit of money. It's been really cool. And I really thank everyone. Right now I'm at 14. I try to get 15 subs a month if I can. And right now I'm sitting at 14. So I appreciate all my followers and subscribers for helping me get close to my goal.
Awesome. So just want to give a quick shout out. Casey Malone, one of our loyal listeners, is pretty active in the Twitch community as well. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what he's got is a Pokemon channel dedicated.
I actually have all of his information. I'll go break it down for you if you want me to. It's Titan Rising KM. So Titan Rising KM on Twitch, and you can follow him there on Twitter.com/that as well, with all of his updates. He does Pokemon streams and sometimes other video games as well. And he's a good friend of the PowerPoint Point podcast and Sports at THP. And he joins us sometimes on our Twitch chat as well.
Awesome. Great to hear. And so I do appreciate your sharing all of that information. So, given the fact that it's, probably a wave of the future, good side hustle for some great information there. So if you're, you're like me and you're kind of sort of in between jobs, and you're looking for, you're pretty handy on the internet. Pretty good way, it sounds like, to put some content out there that you're passionate about, and maybe make a little extra cash on the side.
And I'll throw it out there. I've helped probably almost over 100 streams get started, honestly, on this platform. And, I've been a mod for about 20 different streams, and I'm always happy to have questions bounce my way. So, Robbie G over on Twitch, but also Robbie Gross over on Facebook. If you want to always message me, I'm always in the PowerPoint Point podcast discussion over there on the Facebook group as well, if you're listening on that that side. So always happy to answer questions about that. One other thing that was brought up and I think is really cool about Twitch, unlike a lot of other platforms, is the ability to raid each other, which raiding sounds bad, but what it does is it takes your entire audience and it brings it somewhere else. So Andy was just doing a music stream with a lot of our mutual friends, and then he raided over here, which brought all those friends into our room to continue the discussion here, which I think is a really cool opportunity for people who want to stick with our content, but then they could follow me and I might go to another podcast or a music streamer or a gamer, and they could learn about other people that way as well. And it builds a really wonderful community, especially on the music side. It's a very tight-knit community over there with a lot of great people. And so people want to listen to music during their workday. It's a wonderful way to get involved and have a community and listen to some great music that's live. It's a great way to meet lots of different people. And I find that from those communities, if you want to then become a streamer, it's a lot easier to get started than just doing it on your own. So, having a network of people that you know is always a good idea.
Well, yeah, they can't ask for more than that. So possibility of making a little extra income and maybe learning a bit more about some of your friends, your fellow, audience members, and what they're interested in as well. And you learn something new, and that's never a bad thing. So check out Twitch if you've never done that before. And Robbie is a great resource on that. Very first time I used it, he basically walked me through it. I like to think of myself being IT savvy, but he walked me through my very first experience through it. And it's not all that hard to use, but it's definitely an experience. So Robbie's a great resource again for anyone that has questions about it, is interested in it, wants to find out more. If you're part of the Power Play Point podcast Facebook group, go ahead and message him, and he'll be, like he said, he'll be glad to answer any and all questions you've got about that platform. It's a great platform. Again, that's Twitch, and I urge you all to check it out. Give it a go whenever you can. Okay, so we're running into. I think you've got the Wizards talk set up next here.
Give us football talk and Wizards talk. But we got both of them. But yeah.
Give us one last quick update on the Wizards game before we sign off.
Yeah, so the Washington Wizards are up right now. I believe it's 104-94 with about 8.5 minutes left here in the fourth quarter. And we'll be also, if people want to go and check it out later, and they can always go back on my YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/Robbie Gross, or you can go to sportsothp.com, and I'll separate all these into video segments. But we'll be talking about the AFC, NFC championship games, as well as the Wizards have had an amazing run here over the last week. And so that'll be the final and third segment of tonight's show.
Awesome. All right. So that'll do it for this week. We got one game to cover next week, and we've already talked about it a bit. So hopefully Caps will bring home a win before the nice long All-Star break hits. So we will be recording in a regular format next week with a very brief edition talking about that game and how the team's doing overall at that point. So we're going to go ahead and end it for Robbie Gross. Thanks once again, sir, for carrying us for this week in this simulcast edition. It will be available in podcast format later on in the week if you enjoy it that way. So again, sir, thank you very much. So we're going to wrap it up for another episode of the Power Play Point podcast. So for Robbie Gross, this is the Blue Liner on Point signing off and reminding you that if you can at all avoid it, please, please, please keep your pets, your dogs especially, away. If you happen to have a game of Scrabble going, please keep your dogs away from the tiles. I once had a time where my dog swallowed all of my tiles. Had to take him to the vet to get him checked out. He's still there. No word yet. Stone expression, just like Anna. I expected nothing less. Hallelujah, and let's go Caps.
Let's go Caps.
This has been another episode of the Power Play Point podcast. All episodes are available from Apple Podcasts, the Podbean app, BlueLiner77.podbean.com, and now available from Stitcher. Music by Joe McAllister, voiceover by Jeffrey Conkle.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Power Play Point Podcast. Thanks for listening.